Hello, my name is Bershad, and I'm a member of the Phoenix chapter of the Hospice and Palliative Nurses Association. I'm here to tell you about an exciting new offering which will be starting on Thursday, November the 3rd of this year. We are happy to announce our new initiative of participating in the global phenomenon of Death Cafe. This first event will take place, as I said, on Thursday, November the 3rd from 6 to 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I'm here today to share a very little bit about the background and the history, because you can find a great deal of information if you'll go to the global website at deathcafe.com, and you will be receiving more information at the first meeting. Today, what I'd like to focus on is what might some of the benefits be to you in joining, and then to also share some of the experiences we've had as facilitators of Death Cafe for other groups. As I mentioned, we're quite excited about this endeavor as Death Cafe is a global phenomenon. It spread quickly from its beginnings in September of 2011. It now is held in the US, Europe, the Middle East, the Far East, and Australia. In fact, there have been over 14,000 death cafes held in 82 countries since those beginnings in September of 2011. Now, you may be wondering, if you are a hospice or palliative nurse, why might I want to spend more time talking about death? This is something I deal with quite effectively in my role every day, probably many days, multiple times in a day. And we see this as an opportunity to help promote our own self-care, in that we often are so busy at work tending to the needs of others, that typical caregiver conundrum. We're so busy taking care of other people's needs that we sometimes dismiss or do not pay enough attention to our own needs. So this affords us a great opportunity to participate with others. We're opening this to all healthcare workers, because with the advent of COVID, we've seen that the issue of death is a pressing concern for many of us, not just hospice and palliative nurses. So our overall goal and intent in having a death cafe is to provide a warm, comfortable space that feels safe and respectful to everybody who's participating. We invite people to share and talk about death from whatever aspect that you need. It is a very gently guided process. The facilitator is there mainly to review with you the outlines, to provide minimal structure, but the participants are the ones who really drive the discussion. Part of our decision-making process was that we heard from facilitators who have been experienced in the facilitation process, as well as chapter members who were very new to the process. Across the board, the feedback was positive. People felt it was empowering. It was a great way to talk about these important topics, again, in a safe, neutral setting. So we hope you will consider joining us. There are thousands of death cafes, over 4,000 around the world, and I think the reason they've been so effective is because they work. Our primary goal as facilitators is to encourage and to normalize conversations around death. And again, as hospice and palliative providers, we understand this is something often easier said than done. And this is an excellent venue for us to help accomplish those goals. So we hope you will join us for our first event on November the 3rd. It will start 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. The waiting room will open by 10 till 6 at the latest. To give you a quick overview of what to expect, we will introduce ourselves. The co-facilitator will go over group guidelines so you have a good understanding of how to best participate and be a part of the Death Cafe. And then the facilitator simply offers a question or two to get the conversation going. Approximately 15 minutes before we end, we begin a wrap-up, which allows participants the opportunity to either share their best idea from that particular session or to give a summary of what they found helpful. So we hope to see you on November the 3rd. Thank you.